you can never know too much. You can never know too much. Every day it could be a learning experience in your life. We live in tough times. If you want to get ahead in life and you want to do well, take it from people that have been there, done that, and understand, and can provide information to you that can be very helpful.
Exactly. Hi, I'm Chazz Palminteri,
The Wise, and I'm Michael Franzese.
the wise guy.
Well, here we are again, Chazz.
I'm telling you, so far, this is our third week, I think, right?
Our third week, and we want to really extend our thanks to everybody that's subscribed to the platform and the great comments that we're getting.
Great comments, great. I mean, we're like 16,000 subscribers already in
a
3
couple
weeks.
Couple of weeks.
That's right. So if you're out there right now watching this, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button, because be the first one to get the new content that we have.
Yeah, and again, we really appreciate the comments, and the satisfying thing is that you're thanking us, saying, man, we needed something like this, and it's both entertaining and informing, and we got a lot of history between the two of us.
Yes.
Sometimes a little bit more than we want to remember, but it's there.
Exactly. You get in. We try to be very informative with a lot of great books, but we do it in the mix of stories. Street stories, whether it's about the mob or just street stories, and we try to make it entertaining as well as informative.
Yeah. I got to say this. A couple of the comments are saying that Chazz looks more like the mob guy than you do, Mike. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but I'll take it as a compliment.
I think that's a compliment to you. No, and I always say that. I go, you want look, I have never been in the mob. Just never happened. I never got promoted. I never got even endorsed. I was never in the mob, but I grew up with the guys. I was very close to them. You're the real deal, Michael. Let's face it.
But I have to say something, and I've said this many, many times on my own podcast. When you played Sonny in The Bronx Tale, before I knew you, and when I saw that movie, I thought that maybe you patterned that character after my father. Now, of course, because you were named Sonny there, but you just nailed that role so well.
Well, I appreciate it.
I really mean that. It was just everything about it. And even the message of the film was so perfect. It was great.
The film has endured over 30 years, and it's a great film. Bob De Niro did a great job directing it, and it just endures. Some of the dialogue, when I see The Godfather, I say, leave the gun, take the cannolis. A lot of that lines from my movie come out, now you can't leave, throw him in the bathroom. Is it better to be loved or feared? Cost you $20 to get rid of him. There's a lot of life lessons in that, too.
No, and very significant ones. And, I love the now you can't leave.
Now you can't leave.
That was, they're all good. They're all great. And for those of you that don't know, Chazz is doing the one-man show.
Right.
Him on the stage, all by himself, doing the Bronx Tale, playing all those different characters that were in the actual film. He's been doing that for over 30 years.
Over 30 or 34 years, to be exact.
Amazing.
If you want to know where I'm appearing, just go to my podcast, or you can go to my Instagram or chazzpalminteri.net, and it'll give you my schedule of where I'm doing it. Michael and I both have our own. Michael has his own podcast that's been extremely successful over the years, and I have my own. And now we decided to do it together because so many people loved when I was on his show and he was on my show. So now we have The Wise and The Wiseguy.
And just one other exciting announcement, we have created a platform now called Champions Corner. We're actually going to be doing live shows, myself, Mike Tyson, and Chazz Palminteri on stage. And we got something very special planned for everyone. We're going to be premiering probably in September. Looks like Miami is going to be the first venue. We might take this show around the world. We'll see how it goes, but we're very excited. And again, we're going to be providing people with not only entertainment, but some real good values in life that we want to impress upon you based upon our experience. And of course, Mike Tyson, he came out of the streets.
Right.
Youngest heavyweight champion of the world ever. And, it's exciting to be in this trio. It's going to be really
absolutely.
A lot of
the
fun.
Wise and the Wise Guy meet the heavyweight champion of the world.
Absolutely. So what we've been doing, we've been taking some books that we really feel has had an impact on our lives, and they're books written by very credible authors, and they're about personal development, business development, life skills, and Chazz is a very avid reader, more so than myself. But when I was in the hole, I was in solitary confinement for almost 3 years. I read a lot of books.
You read a lot of books.
That was a while ago, but you still retain the good stuff, you know? So we're taking books and people are enjoying it. And we're giving kind of our 5 key points out of each one of them that we want to be able to pass on to you. And during that, we talk about our experiences and why they meant so much to us and how it related to us and hopefully how it relates to you. So the first one we're going to do today is called, it's a great book, and Chazz recommended this. It's The 48 Laws of Power. And it's written by, I think, Robert Greene.
Right.
And we're going to take the 5 key points and then we're going to discuss it and impart some of our knowledge to you, and we'll take it from there. So point 1, this is so significant. Never outshine the master. The most important part of your life as an assistant is to help your boss shine. This rule advises you that you must never do better or get more credit than the person that you serve.
That is so true. So true. Because basically, when your boss knows that you have his back and you make him shine, all he wants to do is help you. When your time comes, and it will come, he wants to help you. But if you all of a sudden become his assistant and you try to outshine him right away and make him look bad, that's the kiss of death, Michael.
Exactly.
Basically, in the mob, if that ever happened, that's the kiss of death, right?
Oh, I was going to stress that. In that life, you can never outshine the boss. As a matter of fact, Chazz, my experience, I was one of the younger guys. And the older guys, there was resentment towards you, especially if you were doing well. Right. I had some success in that life, and they're watching you. And that's why I was always very conscious of being even more respectful to the older guys.
Yes.
Even though they were still my peers, and I might have passed them up success-wise, but I always gave deference to them so that they wouldn't have this, this feeling. But in that life, you can't outshine the boss. I mean, there's serious consequences for that because, look, there's a lot of jealousy and envy, but it translates to the real world also.
Yeah, and jealousy and envy is a normal thing. We all have it. Everybody has it. It's how you control it. I mean, in my life, when, in a movie, the director is the boss. I'll give you an example. In Bronx Tale, as much as I played all the parts, I was Bronx Tale. But once it became a movie and Bob was directing it, I always gave reference to Bob. I said, if Bob wants it that way, that's the way it'll be. But Bob is the director. Speak to the director. That's the way it was. You give respect to the man in charge. That was it. I know Bob, not only Bob, people who I've worked with over the years, they've always liked me because I've always been that way. Somebody who's been there, you give them the respect. That's it.
Absolutely. And your time will come.
Right.
If you have ability and you work hard, your time will come, but the time is not to outshine your boss, Cream rises to the top. You work hard enough, you're going to get there, but always be respectful to the people above you because it serves you much better.
And also, Michael, a very important thing is while you're working for someone, whether it's the mob or you're working a CEO or a job, never, ever talk about your boss. Oh. Never. Keep your mouth shut. You got nothing nice to say. As my father would say, don't say nothing. Because you start bad-mouthing the boss, it'll get back to him.
100%.
It will get back to him, and it just makes you look bad. You make the boss shine. You know what, Michael? I would go to the point, even if it was my idea, I would say it was the boss's idea.
Yeah.
I would do that. Because
good practice.
If you're happy with your own ego, you don't have to say, no, he didn't think of that. I thought of that. No, he thought of that. And you know what? It's okay. Your time will come.
Absolutely. And in the mob life, and even in the business world, people would try to set you up. They'll kind of lead you into a conversation about the boss,
right,
and then run back and tell him,
right,
like it came from him and not you. And that's not only true on the street. That's corporate America can be very cutthroat. Politics, very cutthroat.
Right.
So you always have to weigh your words and be careful. Don't badmouth people. It doesn't work.
You badmouth people, it's going to come back and haunt you in the end.
Absolutely. So great point. Remember, never outshine the master. Number 2, I love this one, and I'm sure people have heard this before, but so true. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This law tells us to keep our people with us who love us, but also to keep a close eye on those who don't. This can help us stay ahead of their moves and prevent them from causing us harm. How often have you heard that?
That's basically all the time. Sometimes you want to like strike. When you hear about your enemy did something to you, you want to strike back at him. But you're only giving him more ammunition to hurt you.
Exactly.
You know, Michael, there was a guy, and I'll give you an example. A guy came to me once, and he talked about this one guy. I don't want to say who he was, because I actually like the guy. But he told me that this guy badmouthed me, that because of him, he got me into this place on the West Coast. And I never would have got there with my show. I can't believe what he said. He just said he took all the credit. So I said, really? So I said, oh, okay. He said, you should straighten him out. He said to me. And I said, no, that's okay. I said, I'm okay. I'm all right with that. And you know what, Michael? I would see that guy again on the West Coast. I was as nice as pie to him, still nice. And you know what? Till this day today, that guy would book me all over there, and I made more money with that guy just keeping my mouth shut. I let it go.
Yeah. Well, you got to do that. Social media has become, oh God, I have to say this, in some areas it's just a cesspool of people just bad-mouthing people and saying things like that. And, I have a fairly big platform, so I've had shots thrown at me. I've never once responded because, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. My dad used to tell me that. So true, because some of the people that badmouth you, when you don't respond, later on they're coming back to you.
Yes.
I found that out. And I've made friends with people that have badmouthed me because I never responded.
And I may believe I didn't even see it.
Yeah, who knows?
It's like I said, if your ego could take a little slap once in a while and you don't let it bother you, it just pays in the long run. Now, if someone really hurts you where your family, okay, then all bets are off, then you're dead in my book. But other than that, if it's an ego thing or you badmouth me, I don't care.
Yeah. I totally agree, because when you respond, it only causes more, chatter to go back and forth. You leave it alone. And like I said, sooner or later, people on their own realize, why am I doing that?
Yes.
And then, mysteriously or whatever, you become friends at some point. So, remember that. Friends close, but enemies even closer. Because maybe you can turn them into your friends at some point in time.
I did a play many, many years ago. I was in my 20s, and the play was bad. It wasn't a great play, but as a young actor, you take it. And it got slaughtered. It got killed. Everybody, we all got killed. And I was at a dinner months later, and who's sitting right near me was the critic. And I could see his face when I sat down.
Got nervous.
That he got nervous.
Yeah.
And I said, hi, yeah, how you doing? I never mentioned it, not even mentioned it. And he didn't mention it. Mm-hmm. And do you know why? I saw him at another event. He came over to me. He goes, hey, man, I said, oh, that, yeah, what do you, I go, I'm an artist. That's all right. Do you know the guy became my friend?
Yeah.
And he would go out of his way to give me great reviews after that.
Yeah, no, I've had that same experience. Especially, Chazz, and you can relate to this on the street. You have enemies. You don't even make them. They're just your enemies.
They're your enemies,
just how the life is.
Right.
And if you want to fight with everybody, eventually they're going to put you in a trap or trick bag, as my father used to say, and you're going to have some serious problems.
Right.
So the best way, keep them close, understand what they've got in their head, and you deal with it better that way.
Michael, I have to ask you this question. I mean, obviously you were a boss. When do you know if something is worth a sit down or not? When do you know when someone comes to you, because you were the capo, and they say, listen, Michael, we got to straighten this guy out, bing, bada bing. When do you go, you know what? We're good, or that's worth a sit down? When do you decide that?
Well, first of all, you analyze the person that's bringing it to you.
Yes.
Have you been through this with him before? Is he, is it going to be a waste of time? Does he really have something there? I'll give you a quick example. You'll relate to this. We did a movie. I first got into the movie business. My experience was horrible.
It's always horrible, yes.
Guy comes out, a guy that I knew got in trouble here in New York, and I had to send him out to California where his brother was, right? So I send him out there, and he's in the comp business. About 3 months later, he calls me up. He says, hey, Chief, we're going to be in the movie business. I said, what do you know about movies? He said, no problem. I got a script. I got a director. He says, great. He sends me, you'll appreciate this, send me $83,000 and you're my partner. So like a dummy, I said, okay. I sent him $83,000. So he makes this movie called Mausoleum. It was a horror movie that didn't scare anybody but me, I'll be honest with you. because $1 million later, we produced this film.
Right.
My first experience, it got me into the business. But aside from that, there was an agent, you may have known him, Jack Gilardi.
Sure.
He's from ICM, right?
ICM,
Good
I know
Chicago
Jack,
guy.
yeah.
He was married to Annette Funicello
Yes,
at one point in time.
yes.
Great guy. So he gets in touch with me. I didn't know him from anywhere. And he says, Michael, are you coming out to California? I got to speak with you. And I said, yeah, no problem. I had no idea what it was about. I figured it might have been something to do with this guy, Jerry. So I go out there. He picks me up. Jerry picks me up. And he says, we're going to meet Jack in the Westwood Marquis Hotel. Right?
Yeah.
So he's telling me, I said, what's this about? He says, well, I had an actor and ICM wanted me to pay him 10% and I didn't want to pay him. And he gives me this whole story. In my head, I knew he was wrong. Right away because I knew the type of guy he was. But I'm out there already. So I sit down with Jack and Jerry gives me his whole story. Jack gives me his whole story. And I turned to Jerry and I said, pay him. I said, pay him, right? So he says, okay. When we break the meeting, now Jack and I become friends for 40 years as a result of that, right?
Right.
So I said, Jerry, you're just starting the movie business. The first thing you do is you want to beat a big talent agency like ICM? I said, nobody will ever talk to you again. I said, use your head. I said, for a 10%? So anyway, what was the moral? What was the moral of this story? You analyze the person that's bringing you the beef. Now I didn't know why I was going there, but if I would have known, I would have said, "Hey, forget about it. Just pay the guy.
Just
the
pay
money.
the
We don't
guy,
have
and
to
that's
sit
it."
down. That would have been the end of it.
But a lot of sit downs really don't need a sit down. Right?
No, they don't. But there was so much nonsense that went on in that life.
Yeah, we used to have this guy Raymond. They used to call him Raymond the Chair. The reason why they called him the Chair was because he had his own chair for sit downs. Every 2 minutes was a sit down with this guy. They said, Raymond, he's got his own chair, Raymond. And would have said, I mean, it's just too much after a while.
Yeah, no. And, I had a lot of guys around me, and when they're always getting in trouble or always having something going on, it was almost like a daily occurrence to sit down about something.
Some guys, they make everything a hassle, right?
Yeah, everything. And they're very technical about stuff. Some of the guys I sat down with, you sit down with John Gotti, you got a headache right off the bat.
He's a headache.
Oh, yeah, because he's never going to lose an argument, no matter what. He can never walk out of there like he lost. So you have to figure out a way to get what you want, but make him think he won.
Wow.
That's the only way you can resolve it.
Really?
Oh, that was it. And some of the old timers the same way. I had to sit down. You would not believe this. I'll never forget it. I was there over 3.5, 4 hours with a guy he was a Genovese guy. He was a captain, an older guy. His name was Mario. I'll never forget. He's probably gone now. Definitely gone. But over the littlest, tiny little thing, what he put me through for 3.5 hours was unbelievable.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Over nonsense. Technicalities, nonsense. And again, I was a younger guy, so he wanted to make sure he came on top.
How was your father?
My father was pretty reasonable.
Really?
Yeah, I have to say that. He was pretty reasonable. Whenever we had to sit down, he was always on parole, so it was tough. But we had it figured out before we went in. Because, it's like anything else, Chazz. When you go in for a negotiation, you know this.
Yeah.
You got to have this worked out in your head already.
Right.
You got to know who you're dealing with, how you're going to approach him, and what you're going to settle for, or if you're not going to settle. If something, hey, sometimes you got to get up and walk out.
I think these are, before we get to the next point, these are interesting things because you're telling us about the mind of these bosses. Was Junior one? Had he had to win the argument?
No, Junior was pretty reasonable too. At least I found him to be. But Chazz, I would never go anywhere unless I knew I had a real argument, unless I knew I could win. I'll give you an example. When I got into the gas business, right, and I realized what I had, I went to Junior and I sat down with him. I said, Junior, look, I'm going to show you something that's going to be more money than you've ever seen in your life.
We're talking about Carmine Persico.
Carmine Persico, my boss at the time. My boss. And he looked at me right away and he said, we don't do drugs. I said, Junior, I don't get involved in drugs. I hate drugs, of course. He said, well, what is it? I said, it's gas. He said, gas? I said, yeah, we're going to be defrauding the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. I said, I have the system figured out. I said, but here's the deal, Junior. When other families and other guys know we got this, everybody's going to want to get involved. They're going to want a piece. I said, you can't let that happen because then we're going to blow it. You know what happens when it gets out there on the street. I said, so here's the deal. You got to make me win every argument. I said, please don't play politics. He says, let me win, and I promise you I'll show you more money than you've ever seen. I'll never forget. He looked back. He went like this. He said, show me. That was his answer. Show me. Yeah. So within a couple of weeks, I built up to giving him almost $2 million a week. Now, that buys a lot of loyalty.
$2 million a week.
I never lost an argument. Never lost an argument. And I said to him, I said, Junior, I'm not going to bring anything to, I said, first of all, I don't have to bring anything to you. They're going to be coming to you over me. I said, because they're going to want this and that and that. And, and I said, some of the guys that are getting involved in business, they're going to want credit. I said, but we got to get paid. I said, if you give somebody gas, it's like giving them money. They turn it over in an hour. So we got to get paid.
I know I want to get back to the 48 laws of power, Michael, but I just want to ask you, so when someone came to Junior and said, Junior, look, we got to get a piece of this, he would just say no.
Yeah, they made this is our territories. Kind of territory. We don't cut things up geographically. People think that there was geographical lines that, no. If I had a deal in a place that was in Genevieve's neighborhood, it wasn't their neighbor. I mean, we would respect them and say, look, I got a deal. Maybe you get a little piece just because it's your, but we didn't cut things up geographically. Never.
I mean, did the commission ever come down on you and say, look, you're making a lot of money. We all got to get a piece of it.
Not that I know of.
I mean, nobody could threaten him.
No. I mean, if he wanted to share something with somebody, that was up to him, but it wasn't my obligation.
I got you.
My obligation was to the family, and that was it. And believe me, I had sit-downs with Gotti over this. I had somebody in my own family team up with Gotti against me.
To get a piece of it?
Yeah. And I can mention his name, is Vic Arena.
Yeah.
Little Vic. And he teamed up with Gotti, and Junior said, no way. This is our deal here, and nobody else is coming in.
And Gotti had to accept it?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a complicated life, but dealing with people is learning how to negotiate. Learning how to deal with people is so important.
So it's like you did it. You didn't outshine the master.
Well,
you let Junior take control.
Let him take control.
Wow.
It's his thing. No problem. All right. So keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer. Right. Number 3, make the illusion of your power greater than the reality. Make the illusion of your power greater than the reality. People will always follow what they see and not what they truly think. This law advises you to project greater power and control than you actually have. I never thought of that.
I think that really comes down to confidence. Mm-hmm. If you walk into a room and you're confident and you have a way about you where basically I pitch a movie, I walk in saying that I have the greatest thing in the world here. I have it. I'm giving it to you. As opposed to you walk in with your hat in your hand saying, I have this idea. You think you could help me? No, you walk in and say, listen, I have this idea for a movie or this deal. Mm-hmm. Just like you walked into Junior. I'm going to show you more money. And he's looking at you going, show me. And that's what they do to me. They go, pitch me the movie. Tell me what it is. You pitch him the movie. I mean, you got to have your ducks in a row. Right. You just can't be just confident with not something to back it up. But once you're confident and you show people, when I was broke, Mike, when I was trying to make it in the business, I would always dress really nice. And I think that's what they're saying. I would dress really nice. I would walk in and I would look people in the eye, shake their hand. People want to be in business with a guy like that. They don't want to be in business with a guy who walks in like he needs help. Right. Nobody wants to help you if you look like you need help.
It's like a bank never wants to lend you money if you need money. When you don't need it, that's
when you don't need it, they want to lend you money.
Exactly. That's a great point. And it's what you're expressing is confidence, not arrogance. So that you have the air of confidence.
It's not phony.
No, it's real.
Confidence.
It's confidence. People see that. I tell people come to me all the time and they say, Michael, we want advice on how to sell this product. And I say, well, the first thing, understand something. Whenever you're selling anything to anybody, you're the product first.
Yes.
How you present yourself.
Yes.
How people got to look to you with confidence, say, okay. It's like I was telling you about my wine business.
About your wine business, right.
I mean, it was my partner that gave me the incentive to go ahead because he exhumed the confidence in him that I trusted. So you
I had
become
your wine.
the product.
It's fantastic. But you didn't know that at the time. But you make the deal with the person, not the product.
Exactly. So that's a very good point.
Right.
And something I hadn't thought of until we start talking. See how things come out when you start to talk.
Yeah, no, it's very, very important because I remember the confidence that this guy had, which Sonny had, again, that wasn't his name, but people were sitting down at a restaurant and I was there and he sat down, but somebody was sitting at the head of the table, ahead of him, and I couldn't believe what he did. He was about to sit down and when this guy saw him, Michael, he went, oh, I'm sorry. And he jumped up. And you know what he did? He just went, sit down. Sorry. He goes, wherever I sit is the head of the table.
That's great. I love that.
Imagine that?
I love that.
That's what he goes, no, I said. And he said that. And I was like, wow, shit.
But you see what Chazz said is confidence, but then you got to be able to back it up. Because
Right.
when they said, hey, show me, you're ready to show them.
You're ready to show me, right?
Means a lot. That's a great point. So remember that. Make the illusion of your power greater than the reality.
48 laws of power. That's what we're doing today.
All right. Number 4. Oh, I love this. I've practiced this my whole life. Always say less than necessary. This law preaches that we should speak only when required and let people assume that what you might mean, keeping them curious.
Right.
I love that.
So true, because whatever their imagination is bigger than what you would say. So let it be that way.
You know, Chazz, it brings me, there's a guy that's, he's a social media guy, nice guy, but everything he talks about is himself. He's promoting himself all the time.
Right.
So he comes and meets me, and I sit down with him, and he's talking to me about this and that and that. And it's all about him. Everything is about him. And the guy is not, I want to be kind. He's not really a success in his life, right?
Okay, right.
And he says to me, Michael, how could I do better? I said, I'll tell you how. Stop talking about yourself. Let
Right.
other people say things about you. I said, on your social media platform, sitting here for an hour, it's all about you. I want to make up my mind about you without hearing about you from
Right,
you. So
right.
there's, you know what I mean? It's just, where am I going with this?
No, where you're going is you can't convince people about how you are.
Yes. There's an expression, pardon me, but the diarrhea of the mouth is something that always gets you in trouble.
Right.
Always gets you in trouble. You know, speak less, make what you say count and be important. You know, I've said this many times. I went into a room sometimes for a sit down and a negotiation, and I was the smartest guy in the room. I knew it right away.
Right.
But I didn't let anybody know that.
Right.
I kept quiet. I let them talk and talk and talk
Right.
until they buried themselves. And then I'd
Exactly.
come out.
Well, you know the old saying, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
You want to learn from other people. You want to be
Exactly.
with good people.
And there's other times when I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, and I kept my mouth shut, and people thought I might have been smart because I'm not saying anything.
You're not saying anything.
And they're giving you all the information you need at that point because they're talking.
No, so
It's
true.
always good. You got to watch your tongue. Hold your tongue. You know, it's, look, your tongue gets you in so much trouble. My former life was destroyed because of our own words.
Right.
Somebody said to me one time, I'll never forget, you know, Michael, you've said things about the life. I said, let me explain something. I said things about the life. However, if you listen to some of the audio tapes and the surveillance tapes, everything that you want to know about our life is on those tapes. From guys talking and talking and talking.
Right.
Everything. There's nothing more that you can learn. There's nothing more that I can tell you about the mechanics or the system
Right.
of that life. So what I'm saying is well known.
That's the first thing a lawyer will tell you. Answer with yes or no.
Exactly.
Yes, no.
Exactly.
Because you think you can convince them and you start saying more than you should, that's it.
Exactly. So important. Hold your tongue.
Hold your tongue. And my dad used to say, if you're making a lot of money, don't tell people. Because only two things could happen, and they're both bad. They'll ask you for it or they'll steal it from you.
Exactly. All right. Now this one here is very interesting, Chazz, and I'm gonna defer to you on this, but I've never heard this before. It says use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. People trust those who seem honest and generous. This law advises that you use this image to get them to lower their guard and gain an advantage over them. Now, when he's saying use selective honesty,
Yes.
I'm thinking he still means be honest. You may not blurt everything out.
Right,
You still
yes.
have to be honest to disarm your victim. So
Absolutely. That's heavy Machiavelli.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that Machiavellian? I mean, there were times, and I've seen it. I watched it. I've done it. It's like selective honesty. I want this man to trust me. So I would tell the producer. But it came from my heart. I got to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
He would say, "Well, I want to make the movie for." They're telling me the director said I have to put up $10 million. And I would say, I got to be honest with you. You don't have to put up $10 million. You don't have to. You could do the movie for $6 million. How could that happen? You find a producer who's used to doing a movie for $5-6 million, a guy who's really in the trenches, who knows about guerrilla filmmaking. $10 million is too high with the cast you have. I said, I'm trying to save your money. And I did. Forget it. I own that guy.
right.
I own him. What does Chazz think? What does Chazz think?
You just saved him $4 million.
I just saved the guy $4 million. I said, look, do you want to spend more $4 million? Could you get a bigger star? Maybe, but why take the chance? Try to make the movie for $6 million. Try to have everybody work on favored nations and with a piece of the back end. That's better for you. And all of a sudden, the guy is like, forget it. He's ready to walk through walls for you.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. You know, honesty, but be selective with it so that it serves the purpose that you're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish.
that's real Machiavellian.
That
boy.
really is.
Yeah, that's
That's deep.
That's deep, and that's devious.
Yeah, but now selective honesty doesn't mean that you're dishonest. It means that you say things. In other words, tell me if I'm off or not. I mean, if your wife comes in the room and you don't like what she's wearing, you don't say, "Hey, go take that off. I think it's ugly."
Right. Yeah, that's true. If your wife looks at you and says, "Do I look fat in this?"
Yeah.
Or something, "Do I look heavy in this?" You got to go, "Babe, you look great. You look
Exactly.
great." Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah,
That's so true because, you'll pay for that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's worse than disrespecting a wise guy.
Anyway, listen, we really recommend this book, 48 Laws of Power, for
48
all
Laws
those of you that really want to get ahead in life. Chazz has said this a couple of times, you want to be able to, how did you say it, Chazz? In other words, you wish you knew all of these things. If you've had 10 lives and you can live with all of these people, well, you don't need to do that because they put it down in books.
Right.
It's all there.
It's there. You can read it.
You can read it. You can learn it. You can absorb it. You can understand it. And it can help you, be better in life. And listen, you can never know too much. You can never know too much. Every day it could be a learning experience in your life. It's so important. And look, we live in tough times. If you want to get ahead in life and you want to do well, take it from people that have been there, done that, and understand and can provide, information to you that can be very helpful.
Exactly. And every time you walk into a library, you look at all these books and you say to yourself, these are all my friends.
Exactly.
I'm going to make these guys my friends. And I could pick their brain of all the things, the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, the 48 Laws of Power, Dale Carnegie, some of the other books. And you know what? Here's the thing. If you're too lazy to read, you can watch us and we'll give it to you. And we'll give it to you in an entertaining way. Don't worry about it. In fact, watch us, subscribe, and you don't have to worry about reading books. In a half hour, 40 minutes, you can get the gist of the book and everything that is. This is Chazz Palminteri,
The Wise, and I'm Michael Franzese.
the wise guy.
See you next time.